I have watched 17 videos of reviews for you for this review of reviews. Welcome back. This is Board Game Officer. Let's go ahead and jump on into The Witcher Path of Destiny. That's right. I watched 17 different reviews over this Kickstarter, both of the Kickstarter and campaign itself, as well as those reviews that have actually played the game, the prototype of the game. And so I am going to do a nice condensed version of what everyone's talking about. So that way you don't need to watch all 17 videos, but you could get in the know of what people are generally saying. Now, I always put all the links down below of all the videos I will watch. So if you want to know what people specifically said about something, you can go and check them out down below. So as you can see, they've already passed 3.2 million USD. That is crazy. They are doing insanely well. It is 1 to 5 player, about 60-minute playtime, age 14 and up. Now they have already unlocked a lot of things, which has been really awesome actually to watch. I'm just gonna really zoom through this really quick, maybe like only 2-3 minutes. I don't want to spend time here, but as you can see, it comes with a good amount of stuff. Standard pledge is 55, deluxe is 85 plus VAT and tax and shipping, of course. We've got a gameplay all in for 160, and then the standard and the deluxe, and then some add-ons. Pricing is pretty interesting here. The fact that one is 40 and the other one is 60 for an expansion, that's quite a bit. And we're still waiting. We're getting another playable character for unlock, which is pretty sweet. Like 41 out of 42 unlocked already. That's a lot. Here is everything unlocked already. I mean, who doesn't want a golden dragon miniature? And then we've got more and more stretch goals unlocked. You know, plenty of stuff added on, which has added a lot of value to this actually, which is really good. A whole nother new solo mode, which is awesome going on. Lots of cards, lots of stuff. Here's what you're getting in the board itself. You're going to have the player's board. The deluxe version does come with this double layered system there. All the cards to play, all the characters. Talks a little bit about the solo mode there. A little bit about the game mechanics here. You're going to be drafting cards. You're going to have that hand management depending on what you want to use, because you do lose what you use mostly. You've got branching storyline. You've got how the game actually concludes itself. That's good. They actually, I didn't see this before, but they have added a video of how it works, because that was one thing when it came out. There weren't very many videos you had to find like an actual gameplay to see what was actually going on with how the gameplay actually worked. So that's pretty cool that they've added that in there. Now these are the different tells that you could go on here within the different books that come within the base game there. Just a couple key features about the universe and what you'll be playing, just basic stuff. Here's a lot of the reviewers that watched it. Obviously I watched all of these as well. And then shipping and taxes. I do want to point this out, that the first wave is just the English version, and then the languages are going to come after that, just as a note. And then you got your taxes, which, 19 to 22 for deluxe edition for most people, and then all the way up to 45 and 49, almost double the price just for shipping. But that's just how it goes nowadays. A couple of them pointed out how cool this picture was, just showing how perfect their box fits into another box. It is satisfying to look at, to know that you're not going to get a box that's like half full and the chance of it thrown around is less. So that is cool. I just thought it was funny, the picture of a box in a box. And all right, so like I said, 2 minutes here. Let's go ahead and go over what is actually good that's going on here. Now, right off the bat is the pricing, right? $55. That is not bad nowadays for like all these big box games. This is obviously not a big box game, or else the price would be similar, but it's really nice to see a game come out that's not going to break the bank just to get the base pledge, which is awesome. $55, not bad. Even $85 for the deluxe pledge, not bad at all, relatively speaking, right? Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the replayability of this game. The replayability was mostly positive about it. They stated that even the player count is going to change your decision making, your strategy, how the game actually unfolds is going to change just on player count. Okay, this is really weird. I want to jump in here. I've just been searching to see what background I wanted. Anyways, if you click on the standard pledge here and then scroll all the way to the bottom here, now you get a couple review videos. What? That is the most random place to put it. Whatever. I just wanted to point that out. That was weird. Now, you're going to get 3 books in here, right? You can see these 3 books here. Those are 3 basically storylines that you could go, and then within those storylines, they have even more branchings. Each book there has 8 different endings, meaning you could play the same book multiple times and still have a totally different outcome. So it's not just different branching points, but you still end at the same. The different branching points throughout the game actually take you to a different ending, which changes the total point tallying system, so it actually changes what you want to do in the game. So adding on to that replayability is really good. Each book is going to have their own set of cards that you actually can draft, right? So changing the book is going to change the game completely different. And each character here is also going to have their own one-time use abilities that can change up your strategy and everything, and how you play the cards. So even changing the characters is going to change your gameplay quite a bit, meaning that the replayability skyrockets with that many different interchanging things there. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is the story. I'm pretty sure it was actually King of Average that stated this. He's like, this is not a game with an IP thrown on top of it. This is an IP with a game thrown on top of it, right? Meaning it's not just like some random game with like, yeah, let's just throw this on there. Like Monopoly, right? You just throw all these IPs on it. This is a game built specifically for The Witcher, right? It really delves into the story. If you've read the books, if you've read the story, or if you've seen the TV show, if you played the video games, all of the storylines that you've seen will be represented here. I want to say represented, right? Meaning they might have their own little twist into it, but it is going to honor all of those stories very, very well. The next thing is playability. This was probably one of the biggest things, right? I think it goes to, once again, all the big box games where this game was super quick to set up and super quick to play. Each play was actually literally under 60 minutes. I mean, how often does that happen that the play time is actually right for what it says on the box? They said that like a couple plays maybe went over an hour, but that was usually when you were playing a new character or had new people, so there's a little bit more teaching. But once you're playing, like, it takes under 60 minutes. Multiple people just stated how refreshing it was to be able to get to the table, pull it out, set it up, and be done in about an hour. So that is actually really good. That playability, meaning the ability to get to the table, is very good. Now let's talk about the important one, is gameplay, or the game mechanics, right? That's really what everyone wants to talk about, or what everyone wants to know. So you are going to play these cards. You're going to be drafting these cards and playing these cards. The interplayability, I guess I kind of say to this, the interplayability of the cards along with the abilities of the character is very satisfying. I mean, it really does change what you want to do. The asymmetricalness of all the characters, right? They're all very different. They all feel very different. The fact that there's an initiative track here, and depending on which cards you draft is going to depend your initiative order. So that decision point is really kind of neat of how you want to do that. Or you can even, for sure, first initiative, but you're just going to draw a random card. So you don't know what you're getting, right? So you get first, but you get a random card. That decision point is really cool. There's two different type of techniques you could go after, two extremes. You can sit and build your tableau, but not get too many end game points. Or at the very beginning, you could not focus on your tableau as much, but really focus on getting all those end point games to try to stock up on those, right? And they both kind of balance out because of that, and that is kind of a fun mechanic there. They do have some quote-unquote side quests within these books, meaning kind of give you other things to go after, which kind of helps that playability throughout the game, that you're not just getting bored, but it kind of gives you other stuff to attain or to try to attain throughout it as well. And also another really cool mechanic is choosing the side. So I don't know, maybe I'll see if I can't zoom up on this here, but you can see that there's two signs here. Depending on the cards you guys get as a group and who plays what and who has what is going to depend on which way you're going to go. And depending on which way you're going to go, that's kind of your decision making point within the game of where the story branches of where you go is going to depend on that. So that also goes into your strategy of which cards do you want to draft depending on which way you want to go in the storyline and which way you think that's going to help out. And so that is very cool decision point there. I'm saying decision point a lot. Fun things to decide. Someone just state that this game is a good Gateway Plus game, right? It's a little bit more advanced than a Gateway, but it is a lighter game, so it's a Gateway Plus game, so that could be a good thing. Another big thing is, if you know nothing about The Witcher, are you still going to have fun in this game? The answer is yes. You could know absolutely nothing. The story where it picks up is just like any other story you would get off the shelf, right? That you know nothing about, right? Chronicles of Junagor, right? You don't know that lore until you jump into it. Same thing here. If you don't know The Witcher, it's going to pull you in. If you know everything about The Witcher, you're going to have a lot of little fun little tidbits jumping in and there about that mean maybe just a little bit more to you of a backstory. But if you don't know, you're not missing out on anything either. So it's kind of a really cool thing that they've done there. And then Alex from Board Game Code did state that the deluxe version will most likely hold its value. The standard version is wishy-washy of whether or not that'll actually hold its value. But the deluxe version compared to the old world definitely will most likely hold its value. So if that's something that means something to you, there you go. A couple of not good nor bad. These are just kind of middle points depending on who you are. There is a lot of flavor text in this game, right? So if you just want to sit down and play and not sit there and read little things throughout the game, then that might be a little rough for you to get over. But if you love flavor text, then that's great, right? So that's why it's a kind of a in between. Now I just want to note that I do say flavor text because it is not a narrative story. Meaning, I mean, you can see right here, I mean, I don't know, maybe I'll try to zoom in, but that part right there is the whole text on this whole book part here, right? So there's stuff, but it's not going to go super deep in narrative story, where it's definitely more categorized as flavor text than narrative story, which once again could be a good thing or a bad thing. Maybe that's all you want. Maybe you want a big narrative story. So once again, good nor bad. Once again, this is not the old world, nor is it anything like their old world. It is a 100% completely different game. Once again, good or bad. Multiple people did say that just feels light, which can be a good thing or a bad thing. If that's what you're looking for, you just want another light game, perfect. If you're looking for another big, deep one like old world, not it. Someone did state that sometimes this can be like a trick-taking game, right? Sometimes you get dealt a bad hand and there's only so much you can do about it. He did say that the more you played, the more you felt like you had control over it once you understood it more, but that can be a thing for like new people, just as a thing to state. All right, now let's go on to the bad. So as I've talked about all the decision points, right, that really comes down to analysis paralysis. That this game can have a lot of that because everything you do affects so much, which makes it really cool, but at the same time really can cause that analysis paralysis, a lot of waiting time. Going on with that, with a higher player count, it might take longer than that hour because of the analysis paralysis, right? Not because of the actual gameplay, but if everyone's sitting there trying to think of what they want to do, it might take a little bit longer than that 60 minutes. There's a lot of token grabbing, meaning when you play these cards, it's not just like, oh, I played them and now I get that. It's, well, I played this card and so this gives me 2 tokens, but because I gain those 2 tokens, I have to give up this token, but because I could give up 1 more token, so I get these other tokens. Right, so there's a lot of like grabbing tokens back and forth, moving everything around, which can just be fiddly, right? It's not necessarily a horrible thing, but it can get very fiddly because of that. This is one more of a question mark on the replayability, is because each character has their upgrades as they go, but every time you play, it's going to upgrade in the exact same order, the exact same things, right? That is not going to change. So that could hinder some replayability. One thing that is kind of weird is this book here. These books are actually loose cards instead of like a binded book, which just makes for more cards being flipped all over and everything. I do think it would be really good if they just bound it with a spiral bound, so you can lay it out flat there. Cards aren't going to go everywhere. I think that would be an easy fix for that. But that was a complaint. Now, even though it does have a good price point at $55 compared to other Kickstarters that are coming out, for what it is, also can be a little bit expensive, which is why I wanted to point out earlier that everything that's been added, all these stretch goals, has added to that value. So I think now with all these unlocks, I think it's a little bit better than when the person was talking about it. But I do want to note that. Now, this was another complaint about the agency with the book, is that it seems like, oh, we get to choose to go left and right, which on each page we get to choose, where that choice is not really a choice. It's kind of like, well, we all got this mark, so that means we're going that way. Or everyone else, which this guy goes on to my other point, everyone else chose this point, but I chose this path. But because the majority chose this path, we're going that way. So that means my strategy and all is going to hinder because we're not going the way that my cards are going. So it can very easily get lost, or you can very easily lose all the points, or you just want to go with the majority just so you can get points. So therefore that choice doesn't feel as much like a choice. It's just kind of like, well, everyone else is picking those, so I better go that way too, or else I'm going to lose a lot of points. So that was one thing to note as well. Someone did state that they wish the tableau was a little bit more in depth, right? The cards don't upgrade from point to point. It's the exact same card, the exact same deck throughout the entire game from start to end, which just kind of lacks that complexity, which maybe that's what they're going for. Maybe they want to stay really light in that way. But they were kind of wanting a little bit more depth in that tableau building, the card building, what you could do with the cards. They want a little bit more in depth of that. Once again, with those choices, if you go left or right, it's just kind of like, well, you're going to score it differently if you go this way and score it differently if you go this way. And that's about it. There's no like big mechanic changes if you go which way. I think it was Alex that was saying that it would be really cool if there was actually like, well, if you go this way, you're going to add this mechanic and this dice. So now you could roll this dice on something, or right, there's something you could add to it, which would be really cool. This next thing, just not really a bad thing, just a thing to note that these minis here mean nothing. So if you get the deluxe version for the minis are not needy. You can use a token and it's easy enough, right? All you do is place it on here to pick up those cards and then place it there so you know the initiative order. And that's it, right? You could use an initiative token for that, right? So anyways, it's just don't get caught up on those miniatures because they're not super essential for the gameplay. Now, I actually want to call out Game Brigade here. And when I say call out, I actually mean in a very, very positive way. As I've been doing these, I've watched a lot of his reviews and I'm very impressed with him and his pros and cons and what he thinks would be better and how he thinks the game can improve, which for prototypes, I think are huge because that's what the developers need. It's not just, oh, this was bad, this was bad. Like, yeah, this was bad, but this is how I think you can make it better. I've just been really impressed by him. Game Brigade, I think Brian, his name is. I don't know, but if you're watching this, keep it up. I think it's awesome. I just want to call out because I've really ran into him a lot doing these reviews and I've just really liked his reviews. Anyways, going on. Next up is just ratings. Now, of course, there's not very many ratings. However, Alex from Board Game Bill actually did give this a rating and Alex gave it a 4 out of 5, which if you're not aware of his ratings, 4 out of 5 does mean that he recommends it and it will stay in his collection for a time, but it might leave. A 3.5 is not a recommendation if you've seen that video, but so 4.0 is a recommendation, but it's probably going to leave his collection sooner or later. However, he did say that, I mean, obviously it's just a prototype, so it easily could change either way. But he said, I think one of the biggest things that could make it go higher is having a little bit more of that complexity and the decision making actually going somewhere, making bigger of a difference at least. Now, who's backing it? There's only a few that stated. Room and Board, Chris George, he stated that it's just not really clicking with him. He really wanted to want it because he loved the old world, but he's just not feeling it with this one. He feels like he could get the same gameplay from other games. 1D6 stated that he is backing it for sure. And Bad at Board Games, both of them were really not sure due to the situation. They're not totally after it right now. But I mean, you've almost got 20,000 already doing the deluxe pledge. So plenty of people are backing it. All right, so now here are my overall thoughts, right? I could go through and state what people stated, but here's kind of my impression that I've got from everyone. Lots and lots of positive. I think, maybe that's what I'll start. Maybe I will give it a rating according to the reviews. Tell me what you guys think about that. Of like, okay, maybe I'll do like a 10-point scale and I'll do it like percentage wise. So like 8.5 is like 85% positive. Yes, I'm liking this. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think because I'm liking this. That I might add in my own little rating scale. Because with this, I would say it would be like an 8 out of 10. 80% positive. There were some worries, some things that are like, well, how is it going to work out in the long run? But overall, people loved that it was a lighter game. People loved that it was a quick play and easy to get to the table. People really loved, like, if you love The Witcher, this will be very satisfying to get into this world. It gets way more deeper into the world itself than Old World, right? Because Old World was kind of like a pre-The Witcher timeline, where this is like actually in the timeline of the book, the video game, the TV series is like in that timeline. So there's a lot of little references. So if you like that, it's really cool. It's really kind of cool mechanic. It's almost like a semi-co-op. I wouldn't classify it as a semi-co-op, but it's almost kind of, right, because you can choose together which path you want to go. So you kind of have to work together to go that same path, kind of, right? I want to call it that, but it's really unique and fun kind of mechanic where you've got the drafting, the card mechanic, the story, narrative choices as you go on as it. But with that, the replayability with all the books, the endings, the players, it really is not too bad. And, you know, according to Alex, it is, the deluxe version does have a good possibility of keeping its value. So if it ends up not being for you, you probably can sell it for similar to what you paid. You won't lose out on too much money there. So overall, I think this is definitely a safe back for sure. And if you love The Witcher, I say it's a for sure back if you like The Witcher. Even if you don't like The Witcher, if the gameplay looks super super interesting to you, I think it's a good back. Well, there you have The Witcher Path of Destiny. Let me know what you think of these reviews. Let me know what you think about my rating scale. I really want to do that. I kind of like that. This was off the cuff. Next time I'll do like maybe a more in-depth thinking about it beforehand. But this time I gave it an 8.10, which is about like 80% positive versus of the reviews that I saw. I think I'm going to base it off of that. I like that. Let me know what you think, and I will see you later.